Hi, this is Javin Kharot, a chemical engineer by profession, going to continue our today's topic, dissolved air flotation and centrifugal oil separator. Now, what is dissolved air flotation? Dissolved air flotation is a water treatment process that clarifies wastewater or other water by removal suspended matter such as oil or solid. The removal is achieved by dissolving air in the water or wastewater under pressure. When releasing the air at atmospheric pressure in flotation tank basin, the released air form tiny bubble which adhere to suspended matter, causing suspended matter to float to the surface of the water, where it may then be removed by skimming devices. Now, dissolved air flotation is very widely used, treating industrial wastewater effluent from oil refinery, petrochemical and chemical plant, natural gas processing plant, paper mills, general water treatment and similar industrial facility. A very similar process known as induced gas flotation is also used for wastewater treatment. For flotation is commonly used in processing of mineral oils. Now, in the oil industries, dissolved air flotation unit do not use air as the flotation medium due to explosion risk. Nitrogen gas is used instead to create the bubbles. The feed water to DAF float tank is often, but not always, does with coagulant such as ferric chloride or aluminum sulfide. The coagulant, the colloidal particle, and flocculant conglomerate the particle into bigger cluster. A portion of the clarified effluent water leaving the DAF tank is pumped into a smaller pressure vessel called air drum, into which compressed air is also introduced. This results saturating the pressurized effluent water with air, and the air saturated water stream is recycled to front of float tank and flow through a pressure reduction valve just as enter the front of the float tank, which result the air being released form tiny bubble. The bubble form the nucleation site on the surface, the suspended particle adhering to the particle as more bubble form lift from the bubble eventually overcome the force of gravity. This causes suspended matter to float to the surface where it forms the fourth layer, which then remove the skimmer. Then fourth free water exit the float tank as clarified effluent from DAF unit. The some DAF unit design utilize parallel plate packing material to provide more separation surface and therefore enhance the separation efficiency of the unit. The DAF system can be categorized the circular, the more efficient, and rectangular, more residence time. The former type require 3 minutes. The particular circular DAF system called zero speed allowed at quiet water status than highest performance. A typical example, the easy float DAF system, the rectangular type, 20 to 30 minutes. One the bigger advantage, the circular type and its spiral scope. Drinking water treatment. Drinking water supply that are particular vulnerable to unicellular algae bloom and supply with turbidity and high color often employ DAF after coagulation and flocculation process. Water flow the DAF tank where air diffuses on the tank bottom create fine bubble that attach floc resulting in a floating mass concentrated flow. The floating flow blanket the removed from the surface and clarified water is withdrawn from the bottom to DAF tank. An API oil water separator is a device designed to separate gross amount of oil and suspended solid from industrial wastewater produces oil refinery, petrochemical plant, chemical plant, natural gas processing plant and other industrial oily water sources. The API separator is a gravity separation device designed the using Stokes law to define the rise velocity of oil droplet based on density and size. The design is based on the specific gravity differences between the oil and wastewater because differences is much smaller than the specific gravity difference between suspended solid and water. The suspended solid settle bottom of separator and sediment layer. The oil rises the top of the separator and clean wastewater is middle layer between the oil layer and the solid. The name derived from the fact such separator and design according the standard published American Petroleum Institute. Describe the design and operation. The API separator is a gravity separation device designed using Stokes law principle define the rise velocity oil droplet based on their density, size and water property. The design of the separator is based on specific gravity differences between oil and wastewater because difference is much smaller than the specific gravity difference between suspended solid and water. Based on design creation, most of the suspended solid will settle to the bottom of separator as sediment layer. The oil will rise the top of the separator. The wastewater will be middle layer between the oil on top and solid on the bottom. The API design standard, when correctly applied, make adjustment to the geometry design and size of separator beyond simple Stokes law principle. They include allowance from water flow, entrance and exit turbulent losses as well other factors as American Petroleum Institute specify 421 require a minimum length of width ratio 5:1, minimum depth to width ratio 0.3:0.5. Typical, the oil layer is skim off and subsequently reproceed or deposit of the bottom sediment layer is removed, chain and flight scraper or similar device. The sludge pump and the water layer is sent further treatment for additional removal any residue oil and to some type biological treatment unit removal undesirable dissolved chemical compound. Many oil can recover from open water surface by skimming device. Consider dependable and cheap way remove oil, grease and other hydrocarbon from water. Oil skimmer can sometimes achieve the desired level water purity. At other times, skimming is also cost efficient method. Remove most of oil before using membrane, filter and chemical process. Skimmer will prevent filter, the binding, the primary and keep chemical cost down because there are less oil to process. Because greases skimming involve high viscosity hydrocarbon, skimmer must be equipped with heater powerful enough to keep grease fluid discharge. If floating grease form into solid clump or mat, the spray bar, aerator or mechanical apparatus can be used to facilitate removal. However, hydraulic oil and majority of oil they have degraded to any extent which also soluble emulsifying component that will require further treatment or eliminate dissolving the emulsifying of oil and using surfactants and solvent usually exacerbate and the problem rather than solving it, producing wastewater that is more difficult to treat. Now is design limitations. The API design separator and similar gravity tank they are not intended effective when following condition apply. The feed condition mean oil droplet size feed is less than 150 micron, oil density greater than 925 kg per meter cube. Suspended solid adhering oil meaning the effective oil density is greater than 925 kg per meter cube. Water temperature less than 5 degrees centigrade and there are high level dissolved hydrocarbons. According to Stokes law, heavier oil require more retention time. In many cases where refiners have switched to heavier crude, API separator efficiency has declined. Now we go for the centrifugal water oil separator. What is that? A centrifugal water oil separator, centrifugal oil water separator, or centrifugal liquid liquid separator is a device designed to separate oil and water by centrifugation. If generally contain a cylindrical container that rotates inside a large stationary container, the denser liquid, usually water, accumulates at the periphery of the rotating container and is collected from the side of device, where less dense liquid, usually oil, accumulates rotating axis and is collected from the center. The centrifugal oil water separator are used wastewater processing and for cleanup, oil spill, sea or lake. Centrifugal oil water separator are also used filtering diesel, lubricating oil, removing waste particles and impurity of the tank. Mechanism. The mix of oil and water pump constantly into concept separating apparatus in an angle were created, spinning vortex. The filtration result of the force balance. The occur fluid in a vortex. High density liquid will move outside along with any contaminant displacing lower density liquid to the inside. Center to rotation. Water being more dense liquid sits on the outside remove through the discharge outlet. Any sparge oil can now safely recover through suction orifice the center. The process will continue to function in this fashion long as sufficient oil is added. Maintain coverage of the suction orifice. The comparison to other type of separators. There are other type of separator, the gravitational force, the separate mixture, but the other type of force are not shown. Centrifugal force in the centrifugal separator. Other type of separator are coalescing plate pack separator and petrol inceptor separator. Coalescing plate pack separator work very differently from centrifugal separator. With the plate pack, water is fed into separator through gravity through the inlet pipe when mixture is spread evenly through the separation chamber where the coalescing plate pack are. The plate pack oil will rise because of their buoyancy and coalescence under pipe the plate and form the global oil that rise the surface from the waste oil globules go into the clean water chamber and discharge through lower portion of the separator. With the inceptor, the dirty water mixture enter the first tank inceptor when that tank build up hydrocarbon and other hazardous material in a layer. Then come the second and third tank interceptor that all are connected through pipe called deep pipe which don't allow hydrocarbon and other contaminant pass through. The same process happen in first tank will happen second and third tank just with less and less contaminants. If centrifugal oil and water separator, the force of gravity is 1000 times greater than that collapsing plate pack separator, the petrol inceptor. So the separation is much greater. Not only force of separator is greater, but there are fewer working parts. Maintenance is much easier and cheaper. More advantage, the centrifugal oil and water separator include compact equipment size, versatility, easy to use, low cost and high power. Now its disadvantage. Centrifugal oil and water separator do have their disadvantage. One known disadvantage of the separator is that they tend to have low power suction. For example, when pump and drive impeller rotating higher speed, simply not powerful enough to lift the oily water mixture into the separator. For this reason, the separator must always prime before use. Material and metal used. The bowl separator is generally made of stainless steel, brass, bronze. Structure part usually were stainless steel and part inside the gum contact mixture either made bronze, brass depending on mixture going through centrifugal separator. The housing and gearbox, the separator is made aluminum or stainless steel, cast iron. The gearbox in particular cast iron, stainless steel contain it. Now is transmission. The rotation of the separator ball is usually powered electric motor. The power which is transferred or transmission which include clutch flexible coupling from gear and centrifugal clutch connect to the vertical driving device with flat pack. The suction process, the separator takes place, stationary feed pipe suction, the mixture liquid into cone-shaped pipe that feed into vortex. After the filtration liquid occur, unwanted contaminants are discharged either through overflow through one of the two centrifugal pumps. In case of combined clarified, solid are trapped at outer edge wall and will discharge interval except purifier in use for very clean liquid which may not have opening mechanism and need to be cleaned manually. Okay guys, this is up to end of our topic. I hope you get sufficient knowledge after watching this video. Next chapter we cover some another topic of chemical engineering. Still then, goodbye and do take good care of yourself.